What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of This is the World Christian Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Michelle. This is your other host, Jasmine. Thank you for joining us today. As usual, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss when we drop a video. Make sure to also follow us over on Rumble. The link to that is in the description box down below. And as always, if you're in the mood to get some coffee brand coffee, you need to re-up because you're running low for that morning caffeine fix, make sure to use our code STITW pod as shown on screen. You will save 10% on your order. The link to that is also in the description box down below. With that said, let's jump into our very first topic. All right, so at the time of filming this, yesterday, which would have been the 7th, we had the general election in Ohio, as well as a couple other states had general elections as well. The reason Ohio was a big one because it is the issue one was the right to abortion, which if you read the amendment, we all know how horrible that was. There is no rights to aborting a life, which is a baby. I'm bummed out because it passed, which is very sad because now in Ohio, starting, I think it goes into effect in the next 30 days. And you will be allowed to abort your child all the way up until birth. So you'll have a lot of people that voted for this, and you could tell them this, and they'll be like, that's not true. That's not what it says. It's literally the amendment was online. You could read it. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's sad. I was pretty bummed out all day today. I'm not even going to lie to you. It was a rough one for the pro-lifers today. Very rough, especially having to see the clip of the women celebrating the bill passing last night because the votes came in pretty fast. We actually, one thing I will say, we had a very low voter turnout. I think it was like 32% or something out of everyone came to vote. And out of that 32%, it was an overwhelming amount was for issue one. So that's not good because I know alone with all the churches and stuff here, like if we all went out to vote, we could have actually beat this thing and we didn't. So I don't know. It's just sad.
That is very sad. Very sad day in America, and it sets a precedent for more states to come.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess this is where, obviously we know things are going to deteriorate as we approach the second coming of Christ. We know that just it's going to get worse. But at this point, what we can do, because we can't, take it up for another vote, is to activate. The body of Christ needs to activate on this issue. So if you're watching and you know someone who is considering an abortion, be bold.
Yeah.
Be bold and speak up, because you never know if you get in their head just enough to save a life. And then even if you're discussing this and you know that it's going to make you a little bit unpopular with the crowd that you find yourself in, I mean, just think about it. We're talking about the murder of innocent young babies in the womb who have nobody advocating for them. It is on par with, I'd say, America when we had slavery on the ballot, or whatever. It is that level of evil.
Yeah.
If not even worse, because we're murdering babies.
Yeah.
In a way, there is a more darkness associated with that, even than something as bad as slavery. I'd be bold enough to make that claim. But yeah, so I think this is where the church shines, is now. As it gets darker, this is where your light shines brightest. So don't be afraid. Just say what you believe, even if people have a problem with it, because likely, and hear me out on this. Probably the people who agree with us who are watching are much well versed than on this issue of abortion. They're probably much more educated on this issue than the majority of the people that they might encounter in person that are pro-choice.
Yeah.
So you probably have a pretty good footing on debating this issue with someone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then, like you said, as a church, we need to stand together. Because here's my issue. I understand we have progressive churches, so I already know they probably was like, yes on issue one. Because I know there was a commercial they kept running up here where a guy claimed he was like a pastor at a church that was for issue one, right? And I had to look him up because I'm like, are you a real pastor or are you just an actor, right?
Mm.
Turns out this guy was a real pastor and he joined the church that he did back in the 80s because it was a social activist church, which doesn't make any sense in the slightest. So he's gung ho for issues like this, right? Which is sad. Those churches you should not be going to. Like if you're how me and you believe, you should stop going to those places immediately if you are attending and find a whole other place to go to, right? With that said, one thing I did see when I went to vote yesterday, which that was a whole other Jasmine knows I got injured outside of all of this, so even trying to go vote was like was a struggle yesterday. But I had to pass by the Catholic church that I went to for Easter when the Catholics on my channel kept saying to see what an Easter service is like at a Catholic church. I'm not gonna lie to you, the Easter service was beautiful. I still agree. It was a wonderful service and everything. That doesn't take away from what I'm about to say, but having to pass that church on the way to my voting location, which was a school, they had all their stuff, those little lawn banners across their whole lawn. That church literally had multiple vote no's on issue ones and vote yeses on issue ones scattered on their whole lawn, which was confusing because I'm like, are you pandering to both sides? What are you telling your congregation about this issue? Because it seems like you're trying to be really neutral about this, which is weird.
That's
Because
interesting.
because when I got to my voting location, which was a school, which is actually really close to the Catholic Church, um, the signage on their lawn was vote no on issue one. And this is a school.
Mm.
So it really made me think about when I went to that Catholic church for that service. Because I thought everything was so beautiful. I remember donating money to the Catholic school and everything. And just to see them so neutral on the issue, I was like, you guys are part of the problem. Like at this point, you're no different than like a progressive church. Because I know the
That's
church, yeah, because I know the church I go to, my pastor straight up was like, y'all need to go out and vote no. And he gave the reasonings why. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm glad he was bold enough to do that because that's actually saying a lot about him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are quiet on this issue or just, if they're not giving support, they're at least not saying anything.
Yeah.
Which is enough for another influencer who's not your pastor, whether that be online or someone in their real life, who is going to persuade you to vote or not vote either way. And I think you mentioned off camera that there was low voter turnout.
Yeah, it was. It was like really low.
And so who was activated? The other side was activated, but
Mm-hmm.
the church was complacent. Not
Yup.
everyone, of course, not everyone, but it's very sad.
Yeah. And the way they worked it too, because the wording was very like vague about what the amendment actually is on the like ballot fill-in sheet. And then also, I mean, they also had issue two, which was legalizing weed. So I'm like, of course, the people who want to legalize weed mostly probably also want to do abortion because they kept claiming it was women's health care, right?
Mhm.
That's what they always preach out there. So I'm like, if they're going to vote yes for the weed, they're going to also vote yes for the abortion because they're right there. They're in the same spot. And you have to figure out how to combat that. And we just didn't do a good job for any of that. And actually have here, I'm going to share this. This shows a breakdown of spending within all the states that had general elections, right? So if we go to Ohio's issue one, look how much money they spent on this. Pardon me. They spent 24.4 million on the yes side to push it out, which you saw. Like, if you lived here, you were bombarded with yes ads filled with false information nonstop, right? You rarely saw ads down here in the spending for no from the Republican side uh, on issue one. And it's funny because the day of voting, where you actually had to go out and place your votes, that's when I actually saw all the ads for the yes stop. And then I was just bombarded with a lot of no ads. And I'm like, it's too late. Like, where were you guys these past couple weeks, like promoting this?
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a real shame. And some of the things that you were telling me about what issue one was or trying to change was like extreme. It's not just like let abortion happen.
Yeah.
It's like let abortion happen up until the day of birth.
Yeah. It's
That's
messed
where
up.
we are in America, which is
Yeah.
wild to me. Even with all the propaganda, like, is it really, have we really lost our soul this much in this country where, like, you're totally okay
Yep.
with, like, a almost born child being sucked out of a tube, or how, I don't even know how they do that late term stuff. It's just sickening.
And it happens because I know somebody's going to see this and be like, that doesn't happen. It does. It
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
happens. And it's not always because I know people like to be like, oh, something medically has to be wrong for that to happen. No, it doesn't. A woman, there's been women that gave stories where it say like the guy just ups and leaves, like they go through it. He's like, I'm out of here. And you're like well along in the pregnancy. There's women that have been like, I'm not gonna have this baby by myself if he's not here, and have gotten rid of it that far along. There's been people that have found out that their baby was going to end up having like a cleft lip or be like Down syndrome or something and just be like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. They get rid of it and they're that far along. It's like, bruh, that's these things happen.
Yeah, it really is a shame. But one of the things that, we can stand on the promise that God will have perfect justice for all of these beautiful lives that are being taken.
Yeah.
And everyone who not only commits this procedure, this act of violence against a baby, but the people who advocated for it, the people who voted for it, all of those people are going to have to face Christ someday and
Mm-hmm.
answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
No one will be left unaccountable. Everyone will have to face this judgment. So even though it's sickening, sad, discouraging on this side of eternity, at least we know that true justice will come eventually.
Yeah, that's true. It was just I've been bummed all day because I'm just like, this is horrible. And then I want to share one more thing before we hop off of this topic. So these are all the statistics of like everybody who voted, right? So you see the yes is in red, no is in blue. Look at the gender. So it's not shocking that more women than men want it, right? What we have down here, which is like the real like killer, black people are still voting yes in droves, which is sad. As well as the Hispanics, which is also sad. But I want you guys to remember, once again, all of this was created to kill our population numbers, and you guys keep feeding right into that.
Mm-hmm.
You just be like, oh, kill black babies, let's go. Let's do it. I ain't taking care of no baby.
That's awful. It's awful. And it's really discouraging to see also, like, as a Hispanic person, I feel how you are feeling seeing the black number. Like, it's just like, what happened? You
Yeah.
know?
And then if we go over here, they have it broken down by men and women. So this is what's more crazy. White men were half and half on this issue for the ones that came out to vote. Which I was thinking about this. I was like, considering the real election is next year, right? And usually white men, because they're in higher population numbers, are more conservative. If we're a battleground state, but we're usually red, right? If you're already voting 50-50 on this, what are you about to do next year
Mm-hmm.
when it comes down to, like, the presidential votes and stuff? That's kind of scary. Like, I already know women, I already know they were going to vote yes, right? Black people love killing their selves. I already knew that was going to happen. That's okay.
She
I
is
don't care
not
what they
holding
say.
back.
I'm not, because I'm so upset. It's like it's not. No matter how much it's drilled into our heads, it's like this was made for us. And it's funny because our actual population numbers are going down. We were like what 14% of like the whole population, at least for America, right? I think we're like 12 or 13 now. You're not gonna sit here and tell me, oh, that's just white cops killing us, bro. No, it's you guys. You guys are killing yourselves. You can't stop killing yourselves because you're killing your babies and then you're killing each other. Please stop, okay? Get a
Look,
clue.
I'm not laughing because of what you're saying, but how you're saying it is kind of hilarious.
So I'm so mad. Like, I'm so mad. All right. I need black people to get it together. Like, we're killing ourselves. All right. It isn't the white man. He's not holding us back. It's us. Like, get it together. And then the age ranges, I wasn't really shocked by this either. Of course, most young people are indoctrinated and brainwashed. Of course, y'all want abortions. Y'all don't know no better. Y'all value sex more than anything. You're like, I ain't trying to have no baby. I'm going to kill this baby. What's more shocking is our age group is super high on this. We're 69%. And then, of course, the older generations, like, you knew it was going to go down the older you get. But why is our generation so gung-ho on this? Why we want to kill babies so bad?
It beats me, It really does. I don't understand it. Never will.
I don't either. It's heartbreaking. I actually know somebody, because I was on, like, Instagram and stuff this morning after the fact. And I saw a lot of my friends was happy that the weed one passed. And I was like, yeah, I'm not shocked. You all smoke weed. You're going to be happy. But then they were all happy that the abortion one passed too. And I was like, why y'all happy about that? But it was one person in particular I was really giving the side eye to, looking at their stuff, being all happy. They have a kid. So it blew my mind because, like, they have a teenager and they were a teenager when they had their teenager. And their life worked out great. Like, we're talking about, like, when you talk about teenage pregnancies being horrible, it's like, okay, yeah, you and this person aren't together anymore, but you still ended up going to college. Like, you got a degree in IT, you make good money for what you do, and your kid is like well taken care of. They're like a little nerd. They want to go in IT too now. Like, they're awesome. So it's like, why are you so happy about this?
It's cognitive dissonance. It's the programming and the lack of the Holy Spirit's guidance. Because we should be if you're living out this walk, We should be putting everything to the test, test the spirits behind it. So like, should I vote yes or no on this issue? And I think when it comes to abortion, I've said this on my channel before. You cannot be a pro-choice Christian. Like, you just can't.
You can't. Yeah.
So that's, as our nation continues to move more and more away from God, this is exactly what we're doing. And I see abortion as one of the battlefront issues in the spiritual war. So it's, of course, going to be a battlefront issue on the political side, too. And I think I've talked about this like on this podcast, but also I did a video where a Catholic priest who used to do exorcisms was talking about abortion being like, we have our holy sacraments, but this is a demonic sacrament.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if you're watching and you haven't seen that video, go check it out on my channel because it's pretty interesting. But it was really interesting to hear him talk about the spiritual battle side of it and why we're seeing such a stronghold in this country, an insistence on murdering babies. And it's because those demonic forces want to offend God so badly that this is the one that they won't let go of. And you think about back in the biblical times, we had these these child sacrifices to Molech. It's very similar. We're sacrificing to the god of self, another god, a demonic entity, or maybe we might not know that we're sacrificing to a demonic entity, but we're sacrificing, we're idolizing our own passions, the god of, what is it, wealth, mammon. It could be a sacrifice to mammon because you want money. You don't want to lose money. You don't want to lose your career status. Whatever it is, you are sacrificing this human life for something else that's not the God of Abraham. So I don't know. I know I kind of ranted a little bit, but I don't know. It's just sickening to me.
It is sickening. It is. Especially because I also saw like women that were kind of like me. No, you couldn't have babies. So to see that clip that was going around where women, like, when it passed and they were just like, yeah, whoa, we did it, yeah. And it's just like, I mean, I'm able to have one now, which is like by the grace of God. But up until that point, it's just like, bro, I can't even have a kid. And you guys are like ecstatic that you get to murder yours. It's sick. It's like, at least put the kid up for adoption, because I understand that's a whole other process and it's expensive and whatnot. But it's like, if I was never able to have mine, we were already looking into that path. I would have just went and adopted a kid. Like, they need homes too. Like, I just don't get how their solution is just death.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear that too in debates, especially when they debate women. Because when they debate men, they'd be like, well, you don't have a uterus, so you don't have a choice in this. And it's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But then when you talk to women and they can't play that card on you, then it's just like, oh, are you going to adopt a kid? Are you? It's like, yeah, I would. I actually would. And then they want to play the numbers game. It's like, well, you're going to adopt all of them or just one? It's like, that doesn't matter, because you're killing them.
Yeah.
Like I understand the system, like foster homes and all that ain't perfect, but I just never understood why the solution is death instead of like, hey, let's fix this broken system so it's better for kids over here until they can get into a home.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually safe, because I also know there's like CPS workers that get paid off by like sex traffickers and weirdos and crap. So, like, I understand all that happens. I would more prefer we figure all that out and get the right people in those positions than to just be like, I'd rather we just kill the kid.
Yeah, and just even the thought of like this insistence on death again alludes to this spiritual battle that we're in, because God represents life. He is the way, the truth, and the life. So that antithesis just implies that this is demonic in nature, and we are losing our soul in this country if so many people, even people who are already mothers, are just so anti-life.
Yeah.
It really is disturbing, but I'm hoping that it's just another sign of Christ's coming, because even though it's horrible, we know that it's supposed to be horrible before he gets here. So I'm at least holding on to that hope.
Yeah, that is true.
And all of these babies that are being killed, like, I don't know if whoever's watching believes in near death experiences and afterlife experiences, but I recently heard one where, my gosh, it just made me feel amazing, because it was like those babies are in the arms of the Father right now. All these beautiful, like, souls that
Yeah.
God is creating that are being snuffed out before they even take their first breath, they are in peace right now.
Yeah.
So there's at least that consolation of that, but it's just really sad.
All right, guys, we're back. Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But just to do a quick wrap up. Moving forward, I mean, the war's not lost yet. We lost this battle. It's just going to be a long battle. That's all it is. I would say do not compromise, because I know a lot of conservatives immediately was like, oh, this is why you guys aren't going to win the culture war. You have to, bend a little bit and give them a couple weeks on the abortion thing. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. So
Yeah, my husband came home and he was like, he listens to a conservative guy who's pretty solid. Definitely not a Christian YouTuber, but I believe he would call himself a Christian. But he had that argument of like, well, this is why we're not going to win the election, because we're not willing to meet them where they're at just to win the race. And my husband was, like, I'm not compromising my morals. Like,
yeah,
we're talking about killing babies. I'm never going to be okay with that.
yeah,
So, yeah, definitely. You hit the nail on the head with that.
yeah. So you can't compromise, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Because we see Trump trying to do that now. He's trying to be friends with everybody, and it's like they don't like you, bro. They're
Mm.
never going to like you, no matter how much you want to compromise and play the game. They just don't like you. Move on. Like, talk to the people that like you, and try to, kind of like how we plant seeds, try to grab people where you can grab them, because that's the only way this is going to work. And then also, like I said earlier, if you went to a church and they were either neutral or they were just like, yes, like you can be a Christian and pro-choice, find a different church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it might be a process, but you need to find a different church, because I promise you, if my pastor would have said vote yes, I would have walked right out that day. I'd have been like,
Mm-hmm.
well, we're done here, sir.
Yeah, this is a war. Like, what side are you on?
Yeah, so I'm about to be on the side where we save kids. And then also lastly, I know me and you have actually talked about this before. The video where they show what an abortion is and like it actually happening, that needs to be shown in sex ed at schools, instead of all this stupid learn what pronouns are, and this is a drag person, and here's what a dildo looks like. Nah, y'all need to see what that video is.
Yeah, yeah. If you have not watched that video, Live Action is the YouTube channel where you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
And just type in something like animated abortion, whatever, first trimester or whatever. I think they have one with all three. But not only should you watch it, but if you find yourself in a conversation with somebody who is advocating for this, show them that video, because
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a huge disconnect between what we think abortion is and this kind of like medical whitewashing that's going on, because we're calling it termination of a pregnancy or
Mm-hmm.
abortion. It's very clinical, to the barbarity that is that actual procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Even the animated version will make your stomach drop. It
Yeah.
is that powerful, just the visuals of seeing this infant human in, or not even an infant yet, but the fetus in the womb being pulled apart limb by limb, skull crushed with forceps. These are the images that people need to see.
Oh,
So
actually,
absolutely.
actually, I'm gonna put a picture up right now, two pictures. This is from Lila Rose, and she just shared this today. Cause nah, y'all need to see this. I really want y'all to see this. It's graphic too, but whatever. We whatever YouTube about to do, they can go ahead and do it. I don't care. But like y'all need to see the realities of what this is. This is what y'all just voted to legalize here in Ohio.
Wow. Oh my
That's when you
gosh.
take the head off, and then that's the rest of the body because all pieces have to be accounted for, right? And she said this is a baby between 20 to 22 weeks old, dismembered by a D&E abortion, who was murdered last year and whose body was thrown away by a DC abortion clinic.
Wow.
That's what y'all voted for. That is literally what y'all voted for. So when you sit here and you want to listen to the Hillary Clintons and the Views and all these other stupid women that get online and be like, it's women's rights and we need this and blah blah. That's death. That's murder.
Yeah.
And their main talking point too is always, what about rape? What about incest? That's less than 1% of all pregnancies. Most pregnancies is just y'all didn't wear a rubber or broke or something of that nature. Or you just be like, I can't have a kid now. What about my life? I haven't traveled yet. Or my career or this or that. That's what y'all are actually doing. That's why they never show y'all the ultrasound when you go in to get it done. Because once you see the ultrasound and you hear the heartbeat, you're going to have a change of heart. That's why they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they don't
And
do
there
any of that.
and there's charity called Save the Storks
Yeah. I
that
know what you're
they'll
talking
go
about.
out. I think they have like mobile
Mobile centers.
yeah,
Yeah.
ultrasound things where they'll like try to get people to like, hey, let's give you a free ultrasound, and it usually, I think 4 out of 5 lives are saved just
Yeah.
doing that. So I mean, if you can, support those financially, or at least get the word out about them,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's part of the fight too, even just getting the word out about these other options. Because I think a lot of women, I mean, look at the culture we're in. They're brainwashed at this point.
Yeah, they are.
Brainwashed and demonically oppressed, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's supernatural at this point. I mean, look at the picture you just showed me. Like that's what they're advocating for. This is demonic at this point.
Yeah. It really is. Because once you show somebody that ultrasound, you can't sit there and call it a clump of cells anymore because that's how they like to push it. It's just a fetus. It's a clump of cells. It's not viable. Like it's not a human yet. But then once you see the ultrasound, you're just like, oh, that is a human. That is a baby. Oh, that is a heartbeat.
Hmm.
Oh, now you have to deal morally with what you're about to do.
Yeah.
So just want to put that out there. Just gonna share it, and y'all can do how feel however y'all want to feel. But I don't know. Let us know in the comment section down below if you're from Ohio. What did you vote? I already know what Cherished Beloved voted because we're about to see that comment in a minute. But anybody else? What did y'all vote? How if you were in a state with general elections, period, because it wasn't a lot of states yesterday. Um, how did it go for y'all? Because Republicans had a bad night, just all around. In most states, we had a horrible night. So just let us know. Who knows? Maybe we'll pick your comments to go over in next week's episode. All right, guys, after the podcast, make sure you go check out Jasmynne's channel. It's called Bold Reflections YT right here on YouTube. She basically discusses topics about life, faith, and culture through a Christ focused perspective. Everything you're getting from her here, you're going to get way more over on her channel. She's done interviews with people. It's awesome. When you get the chance, hit the link in the description box down below and go check her channel out. You will not regret it. All right, to jump into the comments for the week, our very first comment is from the Britney Spears podcast, where she was actually talking about her at-home abortion. So we just recently talked about abortions. Ain't that crazy? Anyways, this from Tyree. And she says, first and foremost, pray for young Don in this group to seek out the Lord through his word, for the Holy Spirit to give help, guide them to further understanding and love for the Lord, for only the Lord knows their true hearts. In regards to young Don, I started watching young Don because of his mentions on Sang's channel. Real quick cliff note. After a while, they weren't positive. So, because of all the flip flopping and stuff. But I had to just throw that in there. But I noticed things he was saying and was like, whoa, in a bad way. He appears to be a young Christian, but he speaks with authority. Then when he claimed about not believing the Trinity, I unsubbed. Now he is a part of a church that claims to be casting out demons, with a preacher that says he is still literally demons in him. Says he still has literal demons in him. I finished watching a David Wood video here. He retells an experience of being in prison, and there was a church in the prison that taught new Christians about casting out demons. He explains one of these newer people ended up having stuff happen to him. Purposely messing with demons is no joke. This is not a game. I found this website that goes through and presents scripture on the matter and is an interesting read. Thanks, ladies, for the different topics, and we should always pray for those involved. Facts. So real quick about the David Wood story, because Tyree actually sent me the video with the timestamp. It was like a 5-minute story, but I'll give you guys just the meat of it. David Wood was in jail. Him and a few people would go to the church in the jail, because I think that's where he was saved at first. And at some point, a newer person started attending service and they got saved, right? So as a baby Christian, what do we always say? They need milk first before they can get the meat. And what ended up happening, while this person's like fresh, brand new Christian, just like young Don is, a lot of the Muslims that were in jail and a few other people were saying how you need to know the occult in order to take down the occult. So they were teaching him how to cast out demons. And a lot of the guys at the church that had been Christians for an extremely long time was like, he is not ready for that. You're going to ruin this young kid. And they're just like, no, no, no. We're going to teach him how to cast out demons. And the young kid went with them to learn that. He started messing with all this weird stuff. And it slowly turned into him where it looked like he was losing his mind, up into the point where before he got pulled out of jail to like some psych ward type area, he ended up spitting poop out of his mouth onto like a guard, because he just straight lost his mind once he started hanging with these people doing occult type stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So they said he was like literally, once he started hanging with that group, he just turned into like a different person.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. It's like I always understood like the casting out demons thing to either be like something that the apostles did because they were very close to Jesus and they were given that authority, or just somebody who like has a higher authority in church. Like not your average, congregant is going to be out here casting demons. And
Yeah.
it kind of almost seems like that's what's going on a lot with this like online scene too. Like it's like anybody, I don't know. I'm not buying it, and it is scary. Just like Tyree says, like purposely messing with this stuff is not a joke. It's not a game. And I would not want to, it's like, okay, I compare it because this is a spiritual war, right?
Yeah.
And we're soldiers in a battlefield. You're not going to send your your private first class, like your low ranking Joes, out to go fight the special forces on the other team. Like you're just not, or the other army.
They would get waxed.
Yeah. And that's kind of what's going on here in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we talked about it. It's funny because I saw like another video on TikTok about this where this guy, a young Christian he knew at his church, was saying how he was going to help cast out a demon in somebody he knew. And the guy was like, I wouldn't go messing with that. Like, you're not ready for any of that. You're brand new in the faith. This is going to end up badly for you. And he was just like, no, I'm going to help this person. He said that kid came back, like he saw him like 3-4 weeks later. And that kid was like, ever since I tried to do that and help that person, I've just been getting messed with nonstop. I have these weird thoughts now and all this other stuff. And dude's like, yeah, I was trying to tell you, like, you're messing with stuff you're not supposed to be messing with. It's gonna latch on you at that point.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I'm gonna keep praying for young Don where he just gets it together at some point. Because it's not to say I don't think he's purposely jumping around and trying to deceive people, but I think every time he reads something new, he's just like fully on it. Right? So the whole Messianic Jew thing, he was like fully on that for like a few months and then was like, oh, this isn't real. And then he was like a free gracer. And then he was like, oh, this isn't real. Now he's like doing this. And it's like, bruh, you even if you wanted to do this, you're just too young in the faith. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't read the Bible for a year and then be like, I'm gonna cast out demons.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pray for him and hopefully he gets it together. That's all I can really hope for. All right, our next one is from last week's podcast. It's from Nikki. It says, man, it's so good to see you, Michelle. Where are you these days on YouTube and how's the pregnancy? Nikki, I be here every week because I just don't have the strength to stay up to live stream anymore or sit in this chair, which is uncomfortable, or just be awake. I have to be, man, y'all don't understand, man. I literally have to sleep 12 hours a day minimum. And then if I miss that, my body literally picks it up on a whole other day, which means my whole other day is just me sleeping all day. I just can't. I can't live stream like I used to. But other than that, pregnancy cool. Almost died Monday, but hey, we're here. I'm
She's okay,
joking.
guys.
I'm
She's
joking.
okay.
All right, next one. This is Tyree again, but this is also from last week's podcast. We were talking about ayahuasca. Since the VA is considering psychedelics, though they don't talk too much about the effects, they are working through the studies. So I did read that a little bit. Having dealt with entities without the use of drugs, I prefer not to reopen any of those doors. In fact, much of my fascination with the supernatural went poof after coming back to the Lord. We all are already at risk of attacks, plus our own fallen nature that can tempt us from time to time. Yeah, that's facts. I'm not trying to play with nothing that's going to mess me up.
Okay, so the only, like, I guess, opposing view that I'm kind of thinking on this particular issue with the VA is like I've heard that microdosing psychedelics has helped veterans overcome PTSD. And that it's been shown in studies to have worked. So,
I don't know.
and this is different from taking shrooms, like, or whatever, taking a cap, I think is what they call it. See, I don't do the street lingos, so I don't know what it's called when you know, pop a cap. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, pop a cap. That's shooting somebody.
Oh, is it? Isn't there something about mushrooms that it's a cap or something? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't do mushrooms.
Neither do I. But I'm not talking about popping caps or shrooming it up. um I'm talking about like micro dosing. Like, you know, something to help if it really does help. And I don't think if you even microdose that you would have hallucinations like you would when you, like, you know, shroom like that. I don't know what the word is called. Take shrooms? I guess take shrooms or whatever.
You sound like a parent that's
I am.
that's trying to have the drug talk with their kids. I know what you youngins are doing nowadays. I used to smoke the wacky tobacco back in my day. You don't need to be doing none of that. Your kids are like, what?
Okay, I do kind of sound like that just a little bit, but it's okay. Anyways, I'm just saying. I think maybe there is nuance when it comes to this specific concept. Um, we talked about ayahuasca last week and the demonic doors and the demonic attacks that are, happening as a result. But this is not what I'm talking about. Even though it's kind of under the same umbrella, I'm not talking specifically about, like, taking a mushroom and then seeing like lions and tigers in front of you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like microdosing has been I've heard that it's been shown to help veterans with PTSD. And from what I understand, currently none of the actual medications that they give these guys do diddly squat for them. Honestly, like, we're talking about like maybe temporary relief from their symptoms, but honestly a lot of these medications the word is escaping me right now.
They're
They're
placebos.
not necessarily. Is it anti not anti-anxiety, but like psych meds, like, I don't know what the word is that I'm thinking of. That's how you know that I'm probably about ready for bed. But
It is late.
but psych, gosh, psych. I don't even know. I'm still trying to come up with whatever. That they've never been shown to long term have proven effective. So I've seen in my own, like, social circles, because I was in the military, and so I know a lot of people who are in the military, and I know a lot of the old salty veterans and what they deal with and how it's ruined their lives. So I'm not going to write off something like this, because if it could help them in a way that is responsible, because I kind of see it too as like, okay, what if, now hear me out on this, but what if it's kind of like one of those things like wine versus like having a glass of wine and getting drunk, right? Like, obviously the Bible didn't condemn like having a glass of wine. And even Paul was like, hey, Timothy, for your like stomach issue, don't forget to drink wine, kind of thing, you know,
Okay.
where there's nuance. But also,
Yeah.
yeah, getting drunk is bad. That leads to
Yeah.
debauchery. What if it's a similar thing here? And I kind of feel the same way about weed too, where it's like, there's levels to it and there might be more nuance. But again, I could be wrong. Okay, don't come at me in the comments. I'm just saying I'm closer to this issue than probably a lot of people that I know. So I've thought about this before when it comes to psychedelics.
Yeah. Me and you had the weed convo too off camera.
Hmm.
But I can see where you're coming from because I think before I became Christian, I did read something where they said what's it how's it pronounced? Reiki? Reiki?
Reiki.
Reiki. Okay, yeah. They said that practice can be used to help veterans with PTSD as well as those like weight blankets, and if like a more natural thing to help with the depression would be to get like one of those light lamps to kind of help them during the winter months or
Mm,
whatever, where it's like it produces natural sunlight and stuff like that. So I did read about that. The only reason I said placebo earlier because I did read a study last summer where they said most of those medications are just placebo pills. So it was like a high percentage too. It was like 40 something percent was just placebo pills. But they
mm,
just let it be out there. And I'm like, well, why? If you know this doesn't work, what's the point? Just take it off the market. And
mm,
then depending, because each person is different, the ones that do work, like you were saying, it might work temporarily in somebody, but not like long term.
mm,
Because I know I had a friend who dealt with like all those depression meds and stuff, and they'd be like they'll feel fine for a little bit, and then it'd be right back to not feeling fine.
And
And
then
they
the withdrawals on some of these
yeah
psychiatric meds that they get um can often lead to suicidal tendencies
yeah
just from the tapering off, or at least like if you, I don't know if it's tapering off or if you just like stop them completely. But yeah, so that's why I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you know, sometimes, and I'm not saying Tyree is thinking this way, but sometimes we trust like the pharmaceuticals because they are, you know, dispensed from a pharmacy, a doctor prescribed it, we've been taking these medications for years, or, like it's packaged, it's legal,
yeah.
but I guess, how is it different? Like it's all a chemical reaction in a lot of ways. So like if you take a medication that your doctor prescribed to you versus your doctor prescribing in this particular scenario a micro dosage of whatever psilocybin or whatever they're trying to,
I think it
consider.
was I think it was psilocybin when I was reading the thing.
Hmm. Yeah, so I don't know how it would be different now. That that's like I said, like if you're taking ayahuasca, we're talking about a different thing now. Like,
Yeah, that's
you
completely
know?
different. I don't know. I could see it working in that situation. But that's like when we had the like I said, because we also talked about the weed thing off camera before. I do think for medicinal purposes, if it's actually needed,
Mhm.
if it's actually needed, because I know so many people with that card that don't need that medical card. They just want to get high. But if it's actually for some sort of pain to work through and you're not just like, I don't know, addicted like a Wiz Khalifa or a Snoop Dogg, because I believe those guys are addicted. They
Mhm.
just smoke all day long. But yeah, if it's for medicinal purposes, I don't see an issue with it. Because, like, yeah, they're not giving you the actual large dosage amounts like when we were talking about ayahuasca. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You guys can let us know what you think, though. But
Yeah, we're going to get called lukewarm.
hey, they could play the card. I don't care. I know I'm not lukewarm.
Same.
All right, our next comment is from Cherished Beloved. She said, "Well, I just voted no on issue 1. That's what's up. At least you were on the right side of history yesterday." I'm hoping there are actually people who stand against abortion in the state, because I just fear there may be a lot of people who are liberal about this concept for real. At least I was able to bond with some woman in the voting area over my cross necklace and her cross ring. Hee hee. That's crazy. I wore a hoodie yesterday that said Jesus is Lord. And I wasn't even thinking about it. I kind of just grabbed the first thing I saw because I could barely walk. And I noticed when I got in there, all the people that was working that little counter where you got to give them your ID and stuff, they all were like, "Oh, I love your hoodie. It's so wonderful and everything." And I was in such a good mood when I went to go vote. And then all downhill from there. She also says, I try to read my Bible every day or some form of worship every day. I listen to Melanie Mack read it, and she's got a nice voice. Also, thank you guys for praying for my friend. It felt kind of surreal hearing the prayer. Aw. That's all.
Awesome.
That's all you, Jasmine.
Let me just say that prayer is powerful. So,
It is.
I don't know how many people may have watched and joined in on the prayer. So,
Yeah.
hey, we just try to amplify the situation. That's all I was trying to do. Now, I love how she puts flowers to separate the points. That's cool. I just love that.
Yeah. Also, when she mentioned she listens to Melanie Mack read it every day. If you guys don't know, Melanie Mack does have a Bible channel where literally all she does is just literally started at the beginning of the Bible, and she'll just read so many verses in each video. And it's consistent. She does this every day, and that's all she does. She doesn't add her opinion to anything. She doesn't talk about theology. She just reads the Bible.
Wow.
So yeah, so if you guys are ever on the go, because I gave it to my husband since he's a truck driver, and I'm like, if you need something to listen to on the road, since you don't have time to read all the time, I was like, listen to this. Like, she literally just goes through the whole Bible. So it's awesome. You guys need to check it out if you haven't seen it yet. All right, last comment of the night is from Jorge. He says, I always promote Catholic apologetic YouTube channels. I'm not that smart, and I know that there's definitely good Catholics out there who can better explain the Catholic faith than me. We must be able to defend our faith when people of other faiths question or say things that aren't true about our faith. God bless your work, and God bless that baby boy on the way. I love babies. Thank you, Jorge. I appreciate you. And I know you always do promote stuff because you did it on the live streams too. And I know we got to defend our faith. I know. It's just
Yeah.
it's so hard when somebody, no matter what you say, they don't want to listen and they just want to argue, and it's like, I don't want to argue with you.
Yeah. I get that.
So,
It can be frustrating to be patient and
yeah.
remember that we were all there at one point,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know there's many a times I just took people's word for it if they would like bust out verses, because I would just be like, "Oh, they must know. They're saying this verse." Just for me to become Christian and start reading, and I'm just like, "Oh, that person was a liar. This doesn't say any of that."
Yeah, see, now you know for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's awesome.
All right, y'all. That was comments for this week. As always, continue to leave them down below. We will continue to read and respond. We love getting comments from y'all. So just keep sending them. Just keep doing them. Hey, once the podcast is over and you guys have a minute, go ahead and check out my channel. It's titled It's Your Girl Saying. Basically, I go over life topics, Christianity topics. I live stream every Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. EST. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we do what's called the Conservative Christian Show, where we go over all the topics in culture and we look at it through a Christ-focused perspective. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, I have a show called Christian Game Room, where I'm playing video games, but in between segments or pausing the game or whatever, we're having talks about the Bible. We're having talks about God, right? You guys may even bring things to my attention about what's going on in certain areas of Christianity. We just have nice long discussions about all of it. And if you're into any of that, gaming, culture, Christ, all of it, make sure to check out my channel. You will not be disappointed. Okay, guys, last topic of the podcast, because we actually ran out of time last week. But ex-NBA player Joe Smith finds out that his wife has an OnlyFans. So we're gonna watch the clip, and then we're gonna talk about it because this is pretty wild.
I can't believe I'm sitting here just finding out you got an OnlyFans page. Out of all these years, the disrespect that comes with it, that you could even talk to me before you did it, that's yo. That's peace. I'm telling you, though, that's
Wait, no. Calm, but you're not gonna say fuck me or that's up. It's not up.
You recording me? What the fuck you doing?
Listen, it's not up, and we're going to. Okay, look. So I have an OnlyFans page, and he's mad because he's just now finding out about it.
Of course, I'm mad at you just finding out about it.
I'm not doing it with anybody but myself. So why should I have to tell you my choice, my body, my choice?
Your partner, you're supposed to come to me and talk to
Joe,
me.
I've been talking to you about mad things. I've been asking for solutions. Shit, you're not giving me none, so I created one.
That's no solution. Not in my book. That's no
You
solution.
knew who the I was when you met me.
Before,
I knew
that.
Thought that I would never have to go back to anything like this again.
Beforehand,
but
no.
unfortunately, that's not the case right now.
After that, everything's supposed to change.
Everything did change.
No. Obviously, it hasn't.
No, it had to. I had to do something.
You stood out there showing your body. You stood out there doing stuff like this on camera.
You act like that's the only thing that I do. I have mad jobs, but they're not facilitating everything that needs to be done. So I got something extra. OnlyFans be breaking me off. What the?
Come on, Keisha, with that. It don't matter what they breaking you off. It's the disrespect that comes with it.
What disrespect?
You couldn't come and talk to me about it.
Okay, well, we're talking about it now.
Because I had to find out on the fly.
All right, then. But now, okay.
No,
so wait.
I had to find out on the fly.
So now you know.
Yeah, now I know.
Okay. And so? Whatever. I've been doing what I have to do, period. Like, that's bottom line. That's what it is.
Well.
I have to remember that everything we say is public. Because apparently, you could just disrespect your husband and not tell him and then record and post a private conversation of him finding out about your infidelity. Of course, you would probably say, this is not cheating, but it is.
This is cheating. So just for more story on this, for those watching, once she dropped this video for the world to see, which is crazy because none of us should have ever seen this video to begin with. She did like interviews. She did like 3 or 4 interviews after this. I don't know why people would want to interview her about it, but in the one I watched, because it was like the shortest one, she basically said that they were having financial issues for some time, which you would never tell it looking at that big old house. I don't know why you couldn't just downgrade or something, but she said they were having financial issues, and despite her having multiple different businesses and jobs, which is just her having multiple different businesses, it wasn't making enough money to facilitate the lifestyle they were living. So she decided to do OnlyFans because I guess she used to be a porn star back in the day. And she didn't talk to him about it, as we saw in the video. And apparently she had been doing OnlyFans for a year. And the only reason he found out is that one of his female friends, she found out somehow. I don't know how she found out, but she told him and was just like, hey, I don't know if your wife is doing this or not, but you need to check this out. And of course he didn't. So that led to him going home to talk to her about it because he was upset. And for whatever reason, she filmed it. Because at first, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't know if this was real or not at first because of her filming it. And we know how the internet is. So I was like, maybe this is like weird promo for her OnlyFans. But then when she did that interview, they were like, how are you and Joe doing now? Are y'all cool? And she was like, no, that night I recorded that video, he left. He went to his sister's house and he ain't been back since. And I think we're getting a divorce. So, yeah. And she was like, I don't think he'll go through with it. We just need time to talk it on and work on it. And it's like, no, that man's done. When a man initiates a divorce,
Yeah.
that's usually the end. Like,
hold on, I gotta look up the proverb that came to mind when I was, because instead of me saying something not very gracious, we'll just let the Bible speak truth. Okay, so this comes from Proverbs 7:24 through 27. It says, now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. And another victim goes down with this one. Why anybody would marry somebody who has a past like that? I mean, look, unless you're redeemed by Christ, yeah, you should stay far away.
yeah.
I understand that we become new creations when we're baptized with the Holy Spirit, when we accept him as our Lord and Savior. He can redeem anyone, no matter what your past is. So don't misunderstand me. But if you aren't making him your Lord and Savior, yeah, that matters. That past matters because it's going to rear its ugly head. And I just feel for the guy because, that's humiliating.
Yeah.
It was already humiliating, but then she's like filming your reaction and posting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely picked wrong. I don't know. It's like, because I know you got sons, I'm about to have one. I just can't imagine like they get to that age and they'd be like, Mom, this is my girlfriend. And it's like, oh, what does she do? She's a porn star. But don't worry, she's gonna stop when we get married. I would probably just start laughing because I'd be like, this is funny. I was like, you guys got me. You got me. What was that show called with Ashton Kutcher? Punked. I'm like, you guys got me. Where the cameras? I'm getting punked right now. Like, I just, because she mentioned that a lot. You knew who I was when we got together. It's like, but in her interview, she also stated it had been like so many years since she had ever even done that, like over a decade. So that's so weird that now you are like the age of somebody's auntie, or if they have kids, maybe grandmama age, and you turn back to OnlyFans. That's weird.
Yeah. It's very sad. It's very sad, and it just shows that those strongholds of sin, they don't just go away unless you are actively being guided by the Holy Spirit. And until God washes you away, you can stop for a while, but at some point, those, as soon as, what did she say? Because they were having financial issues. So she turned to what she knew. Her way of making money to keep herself afloat happened to be in a sinful sexual sin. So of course it's going to rear its ugly head. And isn't that how Satan gets you a lot of the time? By like, hey, you're feeling the pressure, finances, I got to wait for you to make money, da 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 da. There you go again, And this time it ruined her marriage.
Yeah. Because it don't sound like he's going back. That sounds like that's over. Because like I said, once the guy initiates the divorce, it's done from there. Usually with women, it's a 50-50, depending what happened, right? I've never seen a guy pull a 50-50 on a divorce. He's usually once once he feels that disrespected, he's out of there.
Yeah.
He don't
Because
even care.
oftentimes that's all guys really want, is to feel respected. And to come back from that, I don't see it.
Yeah. Matt Walsh said it like really simple. He was like, what most guys want is when you come through the door, the kids greet you, the wife greets you, dinner's on the table, your family respects you. He was like, that is the majority of what we want. It's so simple to make us happy. This right here, this little video situation, yeah, it's done for.
Yeah.
He may have overlooked that past like a decade ago. He's not overlooking that now. That's over.
And that doesn't mean that we're advocating for divorce on this channel. We're not.
No, not at all.
But at the same time, and I also believe that God can redeem that marriage if they submit completely to Him and are willing to sacrifice all that they are to make that marriage work. I believe that it could. Do I think that they're going to do that? No. Do I think that he's going to forgive her for the sake of saving their marriage? I'm not seeing any evidence of that. And I would understand if he doesn't. Now, he should forgive her. He's commanded to forgive her through scripture. That might be on his own walk with God. If he's walking with God, he's going to have to eventually make that happen. But yeah, unless they're trying to like really change everything to save their marriage and put God first in their lives, yeah, I think divorce is not something that we're advocating for, but it's definitely inevitable.
Yeah, that is true. I actually saw a lot of videos last week because we were supposed to do this, and I ended up seeing the videos after the fact where people were talking about how God brought their marriage actually back together. And in one of them, this woman was talking about her and her husband got divorced, and she actually had him put in jail because he wasn't paying child support. She said she was actually just really bitter because like he had money, but it wasn't the amount that the courts, deemed. So because he couldn't give the full amount, but he was still giving something, and she was angry, she just had him sent to jail. And it took him going to jail, and it took like a few months where she actually ended up submitting her life over to Jesus. And she had a dream where she was supposed to call him and apologize. And she said it took her a couple of days to work up the courage because she then felt really bad that he was in jail.
Wow.
So, but she said when she called, he picked up, she apologized. He then said on the other side, he was like, it's really weird because I had a dream about Jesus, and I started going to church here in the prison.
Wow.
And he was like, Jesus wanted me to tell you that I'm sorry and forgive you. And she didn't expect that either. So they were both having they were having this moment together, and they started calling each other like every day. And they were just talking about scripture and Bible passages. And then it turned into her finally visiting him and then taking the kids to go see him. And she said she had a dream that he was actually going to get out of prison earlier than he was supposed to, and they were going to be a family again. And that's literally what happened. Like he got out, it was like a fall day, and I think it was like a year or so earlier than he was supposed to get out. And they ended up actually remarrying, and they said their marriage was actually way better after that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, like you said, if they both give their lives over and work together, that marriage can come back together and actually be stronger than what it was the first time around. But they both have to be in on that.
So. Yeah, absolutely. And I I pray that happens. With the way the world is set up sometimes, that's a hope and a dream at this point, but it's looking like, as of right now, on the course that they're on, probably not. But you never know. A miracle can happen in the most interesting of ways.
It could, if they're meant to be together, it'll happen. That's kind of like when I was telling my story last week with me and my husband a little bit, because we were together for so long. A lot of stuff happened in our relationship, you know, and I feel like it took me coming over, like I came over first and then him coming over to be like, this is probably the strongest our relationship ever been, like the whole time we've been together. So I don't know, the way I look at it, the time really meant nothing because Jesus wasn't there, you know. So it to me, it seems like it only means something now. Now I don't know how he would feel about about that, but that's just what it feels like to me personally. And and when I was watching those videos of those people, because I started going down the rabbit hole of all the couples tell their stories, it seems like they all felt the same way too. Like, yeah, they had time with each other as like, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wives or whatever, but they said it didn't really feel strong and good until Jesus came into their lives.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with them as time goes on, but that's just rough. That whole video was rough. Yeah. But guys, let us know what you think in the comment section down below. If you're a guy, you know, how would you handle that situation? If you were a girl and it was financial troubles, what would you do? Because I know it's not what she would do.
Would you throw your whole marriage away?
That's literally what happened. I feel like if it was private and nobody ever saw that video, right? She never filmed. They probably could have better worked that out privately than, oh, you've been lying to me for a year and now you're disrespecting me. I'm out of here. Because even with the filming, it seemed like she didn't care. And she was just like, well, I mean, we talking about it now. And he's just like, I guess we are. And like it was a movie or something. And just walked out. And then she's just like, y'all see that? Y'all see that? I don't know why he mad or whatever she said to the camera at the end. And it's like, why do you think this is like some reality show? You're not the main character. Your marriage is on the ropes right now. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And who knows, maybe we'll pick your comment to go over next week's podcast. All right, guys. So that was another episode of So This is the World Christian Podcast. Thank you for hanging out with us this week. Once again, I'm Michelle. This is Jasmine. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss when we drop a video. Make sure to hit the link in the description box down below to follow us over on Rumble. And now that you're done, Jasmine is back. She got a new video this week. Head over to her channel. It's called Bold Reflections. Watch the latest video and every other video that came before it if you missed it. And when you're done over there, head over to my channel. It's called It's Your Girl Saying. And just watch the backlog until I put something new up. But until next time, we'll see you guys next week.